Welcome to another episode of Port Charles Chat. I'm Mom.
And I'm Brandon.
Thank you so much for joining us. And Brandon, how are you doing today?
Mom, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine. Are you ready to get started, Brandon?
Whenever you are.
Alrighty. Like I said, once more, welcome to another edition of Port Charles Chat. This is for the week of April 21st through 25th. Just for taping purposes, so you know we are taping this from April 27th. All right. So let's get started with a list of things that kind of happened this week. First of all, Alexis and Diane decide to continue the hire of Marco. Ava continues to blackmail Alexis. Natalia is actually fired from deception because the group did find out that Natalia is related to Sidwell. Um, and Natalia hits, and in the midst of all that, Natalia tells Sidwell about Sonny's heart condition and his impending surgery or upcoming surgery. Um, Jason and Sasha talk about Sasha's relationship with Sidwell. Marco tells Lucas about his past. Diane still wants Alexis to commit Christina. However, Alexis does not want to. Molly and Christina find out that Alexis wants to commit Christina, and at the end of Friday's episode, they confront her. So we'll have to see what happens there. Um, Carly and Nina want to ruin the Drew and Willow relationship. But meanwhile, Nina moves on to someone else too. Nina and Portia also want to ruin the Drew and Willow relationship, and so, or more so, Portia really wants to ruin Drew. But anyway, they decide that they will place a prostitute with Drew so that Willow will find him. Um, Willow goes to visit Michael and is told Michael does not want to see her. However, we later find out that Drew paid the nurse to say this, and Willow is absolutely devastated. Kai decides that he wants to have the surgery, even though everyone is saying that he should not. And then Sonny has a successful heart surgery. However, a nurse comes in at the end of Friday's episode, and she has a syringe in her hand. And then Lulu writes a story about adoption for one of the local papers, and Brooklyn believes it's about her and confronts Lulu. And for the most part, I think I've hit the high points of the week. Brandon, what did I leave out?
I think that is it for for all intents and purposes of the major storylines. But I will add that there is some bonding between Danny and Rocco and their respective fathers.
Yes, there is. There is. All right, so let's go on to the performer of the week. I struggled with this one just a little bit because I was trying to figure out who I thought kind of did a little better this week. Anyway, so I narrowed it down to three. I'm actually going to pick Marco for one of them because he's come in, I think, as a stronger character initially. And so I like the relationships that he is forming with the people in Port Charles. And I like that he is, we think, telling the truth anyway to, to Lucas. And I like that he is actually open with Alexis and Diane, we guess up to some point, with them about his relationship with his father. And so I like Marco. So he's kind of one of my performers of the week. Nina's my other performer of the week because I like the way she is kind of conniving right now, and I kind of like that part of Nina. And so I like that she's doing that. And I got a kick out of Friday's episode when the lady of the week said that she was going to charge them $6,000, and she said absolutely not. And then when she realized that they needed to do this sooner than later, she agreed. So I kind of got a kick out of Nina. And then Willow actually is one of the people who was one of my performers of the week. But it really came down to that episode on Friday because she was absolutely devastated when she realized that Michael didn't want to see her. And it's the first time to me I thought she was really acting. And so acting in a sense of a good way. And so I did like that scene at the end where she was kind of devastated about Michael and realizes that she just needs to go home at this point. And so for me, those were my performers of the week. Brandon, what about you?
Oh, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree. And so for me, and what I had planned to say is that I definitely enjoyed Nina's performance. To me, Marco was a definite runner-up, but my performer of the week had to go to Willow. And Friday's episode, I think, truly had nailed it for the exact reasons that you mentioned. And even earlier in the week, I liked her confidence when speaking to Drew and speaking to Jason, that she wanted to be sure of herself. And I think even just for the actress herself, that I'm able to see her performance just really shine more than this week, and then doesn't other weeks, just because I think it gets oftentimes overshadowed by the storyline itself. But I really liked Willow this week.
All right. All right, for amusing scene of the week, actually Alexis and Ava. I'm kind of getting a kick out of them of her blackmailing her, and I kind of like Ava at this point, the way she's kind of acting. But anyway, I like. So they have been amusing me. When Ava also went to go see Rick, and she had the fur coat on, and she said she's buying the car and everything else that Ava seems to be buying. She amused me this week, along with Alexis in regards to Ava. And then Cody was the other person. I know that last week it was just absolutely silly with the horse, but we also have him being kicked by the horse, and I got a kick out of that. So I did like that scene with Cody at the hospital this week. All right, Brandon, what about your amusing scenes of the week?
I think Ava's just interesting in of herself and amusing, and so I like that the first thing she does, she spends all this time speaking about how she needs more money for Avery and for the art galleries, and then she's like, I want to go order a Maserati.
Yes, yes. I mean, and she's not listening to anyone, so I'm getting a kick out of this. I mean, even Rick has said, along with Alexis, that she needs to actually not show everyone she has money that quickly, because people will get kind of suspicious, but she's ignoring all of that. So it's just Ava. All right. All right. And then, did you have any other amusing scenes of the week?
There's certainly some amusing scenes, yeah, I feel throughout the week, as there always is in General Hospital, but those are the ones that you had previously mentioned that had stood out to me. I'm sure one will hit me later, though.
All right. As for touching scenes in the week, and you've mentioned a couple of them. Jason kind of was to me like one of the performers for touching scenes this week. He spoke to Danny, and I thought they had a really nice conversation together. Jason and Dante had a nice conversation together also, along with Jason and Willow. I mean, Jason was just out with everyone this week, and I believe he had a conversation with Carly too. So that he kind of, he can bring things down to earth for all of them. And then, and that's actually what I had was everything involved Jason this week for the touching scenes. All right, what about you, Brandon?
I'm going to add one more to that touching scene, and I remembered an amusing scene.
Okay, go ahead. Which one do you want to do first?
Let's go with the touching scene, then the amusing one.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the touching scene that I'm going to add to that, because I agree most of them dealt with Jason. Oh, and that made me remember another amusing scene, but I will say the first one I'm going to do is with Rick and Molly, and her walking him around the hospital in his walker on Thursday's episode. And I just liked the conversation that they had, and even when Molly was trying to convince him to ditch Ava, I thought that was just amusing, but how she's just really looking out for him, but he's also trying to look after her, even if it means blackmailing, her mother.
Yeah. Yes, yes. All right. And what's your music scene of the week?
Okay, so for the two that I had just now thought about, again, I said, that it was going to come to me later. So one of them is with Carly in the kitchen, and when Jason goes to her, and she's just chopping vegetables. It's like, you're cooking? It's like, no, I'm just chopping vegetables. And she puts that knife out at Jason, and it's like, I'm going to need you to put that down. That definitely, to me, is one. And I already mentioned the one with Ava and her Maserati. But the other one is with Sidwell and Alexis, and how Sidwell is repeatedly trying to annoy Alexis. Alexis repeatedly hangs up on him on the phone, then he keeps showing up to the office unannounced, going past the secretary, and I just thought that was so amusing.
It was. It was. And then the fast forward scene of the week, and it sounds like I'm going to contradict myself, is actually there was a Willow and Drew scene that I was not that happy with. And so so that was my fast forward scene of the week. All right, Brandon, what about you?
It had taken me a moment because I'd forgotten about it, but as soon as she said it, it's like, yeah, yeah, I didn't need to see that this week. But yeah, that it would be that.
All righty. And then we have to say welcome back to Brick. He's been gone for a moment, so welcome him back. Were there any other welcome back characters for you?
Let's see. Ned is back in as he does his in and out state. Although I will say we see him more than we used to see him.
Yes, we have. We have. And then, actually, for surprises, it's rare that General Hospital surprises me. Sometimes it does. You know, the Christina Fall was one of them. And so this week, the surprise for me actually involved Drew. And in regards to the fact that he was the one who asked the nurse to lie to Willow in regards to Willow seeing Michael. And I don't know why I was not expecting that. If anything, I would have thought Carly would have done it. But I was really surprised that Drew had done that. Shows how much of a controlling person he is. But yes, so that surprised me. Were there any surprises for you this week?
Oh, it was definitely that. You know, when I was going through and watching this, that wasn't what I was expecting. I did think it was kind of odd that Michael wouldn't want to see Willow. I mean, in the sense of actually seeing her, considering she's already there. But when the nurse didn't even want to speak to him again, I thought something was up, but it never would have occurred to me that it was Drew. But in seeing the scenes, like, of course it's Drew.
Yes, yes. And then it also makes you wonder what Drew is up to just in general. You know, what is he trying to control? Of course, he wants to control Willow, but what else is he up to that we're not aware of? And then the other thing that kind of surprised me a little bit, not to this extreme, of course, is with Kai and with Drew. Drew kind of mentioned that he thought the Kai story should be told, and everyone's wondered about why Drew wants to help Kai. And so I don't know if that means that Drew wants himself to be the hero of the scene. I don't know, or for what advantage this will be for Drew later. But I was surprised that he just kind of brought that up in the sense of let's have a story about you after your surgery. And go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, and something that I thought was interesting in terms of surprising, but again, not to that extent with the whole Drew and Michael situation, is that Tracy Quartermain has given money to Councilman Boyle after he tried to threaten to bulldoze her relatives to take down Sonny, which in effect is also taking down Laura.
Yeah, yeah, odd. So not quite sure what's going on with all of this and what their ultimate goal with the Sunny and Sidwell and Boyle and Drew, where it's all going to lead to. But so that should be interesting, which kind of leads us to next week and what I'm kind of looking forward to seeing. Actually, I want to see what happens with Sonny. We're not sure if that means he's being drugged or whether or not he's disappearing, whichever. So we'll see what happens to Sonny next week. And then I'd like to see if the Drew setup actually works. You know, the setup in regards to with Nina and Portia. So that should be interesting to see. All right, Brandon, what are you looking forward to seeing to next week?
Yeah, I'm definitely curious for more progression on the Drew plot. I feel that based off of this week that we're getting further along with that storyline because I don't, at least in my perception, I don't feel that you end with the whole Drew is manipulating Willow in the way that he is with that phone call thing without follow through. So I definitely anticipate seeing that uh, continue on within the week, and I would like to see where the Marco storyline's heading along. I'm glad to see another character, being introduced. I hope that we do see Blaze. We see that Lucas was almost told about Blaze by Marco, but not quite there yet.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you wonder who the father of Blaze is because they are being very evasive about that. And so I wonder if it's someone who we already know or have a relationship with on the hospital.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Brandon. Anything else you'd like to bring up for this week?
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious as to overall where the main storyline's going, and I feel that we've gotten in recent weeks a sort of shift away from Sonny, at least with the whole referendum coming up, and that Rocco doesn't really want Sonny at his events because it might upset Laura, and since the peers might be taken away for him, and now with the surgery, I'm curious as to if we're going to end up getting another break from Sonny, or at least with him being seen as intensively. And then we also saw a little bit with Emma and Jocelyn and Emma in a dumpster.
We did, we did. So it'll be interesting to see what the storyline is with this professor and with Emma, and whether or not the the relationship between them in regards to, I know Emma just wants to care about the environment and the animals and things like that, but the professor apparently is up to something. So it'll be interesting to see what the professor is up to and what Jocelyn's role will be, since this is her first per se case.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely looking forward to that. And did we see Anna this week? Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
We did see Anna just for a minute. But yes, we thank everybody for watching this week on watching our Port Charles chat this week. And so we look forward to speaking to you next time.
Have a wonderful day.
All right, goodbye, everybody.